My name is Ines Pires.
And I'm Sladko.
We are the authors of the new publication of Innovation in Diplomacy Network with the title Soft Diplomacy, Modeling Global Interactions.
The book was researched in a variety of different topics, bringing together actually the importance of soft diplomacy for the first time what we were researching so far.
It's quite interesting because soft diplomacy is an expression that was created by us, by Innovation in Diplomacy Network, a group of experts, and as well all the research along the last 12 years. It's important because it's not common. People think that soft diplomacy is something used to be used by the public sector, but actually this is not true.
Soft diplomacy should be understood actually as a skill for human beings interaction, from human to human interaction. And these skills can be applied to nearly any kind of industry and nearly any kind of global interaction that we could imagine. We have to think that the methodology of this book was based on a research that we were doing already since many years, but it was the first time that we brought all these results of the research into a book, and we compiled all the different perspectives to soft diplomacy together.
We wrote the book as tennis players. And you may be asking, but what she's talking about? Tennis is the best way actually to do research. Because the tennis is the way that, for example, I have a perspective as author. Thomas has another perspective author, so I contribute to that perspective based on the research I've done, based on the countries I've lived, based on the professional experience I had. Then Thomas contributes as well with his experience, with his research, with his facts, and like that we build not a collection of thoughts, but actually a narrative that was filling of that research. It's a little bit the topics that we covered was the application of that soft diplomacy into the different fields and industries that Thomas was saying. But like we use the so-called tennis approach, because to write something together, it's not easy. There's different types of methodologies. You can, of course, sit together and just to start to enter in a certain type of conflict, for example, like all authors do, how are we going to address this, or we do a type of tennis one, that means we can contribute if we are aligned in the values. Don't you agree with me? Or?
Yes, I think what was interesting was that from the first moment on when we were starting our research, we saw that during the last years, many confusion in terms of terminologies regarding soft diplomacy exists. Researching was that mainly the approach is already started to be given by an author from the 90s, but not having the terminology of soft diplomacy. The terminology used by Joseph Nye was actually soft power, and the soft power approach was having a kind of differentiation to the hard power approach that many countries in the international interaction are acting on. What we are seeing is that the soft diplomacy approach is something that is based on human-to-human interaction and actually can be applied to different industries. What we were doing is we were seeing on how soft diplomacy, for example, in the area of digital diplomacy can be applied. We were approaching on how soft diplomacy in negotiation skills, in intercultural negotiation approaches are bringing very interesting and very sustainable results on the long term. Actually, one of the approaches that soft diplomacy is always having is the win-win situation, the win-win solution in terms of both parties who are in a negotiation are coming to a common ground. This soft approach is something that is completely different than the hard diplomacy approach, because the hard diplomacy approach is my argument wins and the other one has to lose. So we are actually driven by the intention that the soft diplomacy approach goes for a win-win solution, and we were showing some examples on how these win-win solutions can actually be applied.
It's very interesting because what happened is that the research sources was not just the so-called common sources, so it's just not the typical authors that are out there, like Thomas was saying, that's research about hard power, soft power, or even soft skills. That is not exactly the same, soft skills, not exactly the same of soft diplomacy. We believe by adding the expression soft diplomacy is naturally already entering in a win-win situation. Because the main objective of diplomacy itself, since the evolution of the term, is actually to try to find the best solution of a case. So if you already entering soft diplomacy approach and not hard diplomacy, you are entering into a path of construction. And the positive approach we want to bring with this book is that we gave examples of China, we gave in the book, we gave examples as well, researching based on our alumni interest and contribution that come from around the world, because in Innovation Diplomacy Network we have alumni from more than 100 countries. So we listened to them, we read things that they have written, we took into consideration all the research as well they have done and the contribution they gave to our research center. We listened to the Sultanate of Oman, we've listened to Southeast Asia, for European Union, we've listened to ASEAN, we've listened to United States of America, to Latin America, to across the whole borders. We were inspired where we can find those solutions within soft diplomacy, within practices that maybe was called win-win only, or lose-win, or win-lose, but we try to combine them in that common ground for a positive evolution and progress of the orientation of our world today. So we don't want to destroy anything that was done, we don't want to construct anything new, but we want to bring what exists to the progression of our world. And our world is made of people. And Thomas just said now about digital diplomacy. Yes, technique is here, technology is here, there's not a doubt about it. It's here. We cannot go against it, we have to go in favor. But to go in favor does not mean we don't continue to underline the importance of the human being. Because it's the only part of our society, of our universe, that makes us to live in the planet Earth. So we are humans, and that preservation needs to be there, despite of all the progress in different industries. So what we actually are believers, we can say like that, is that the soft diplomacy, the human interactions, is maintained and adapted to the progresses in economical diplomacy, in different markets, in, for example, finance and energy sectors, cosmetics, in the areas of industries in general, research centers and construction companies, in everywhere, to be honest. Actually, how we can apply those skills in new forms of partnerships, of global partnerships. So this is a bit our research. Did you enjoy to write this book?
Yes, it was quite an interesting results actually that we were discovering, and we were having a lot of impact actually coming from different sources. In principle, the methodology was researching, observation, and observing specific actual case studies globally. So we were observing very close the Sultanate of Oman, and the results of this book have a very interesting perspective on how soft diplomacy is practiced since many, many years in the Sultanate of Oman. Other examples are, of course, in the industries like tourism, like digital diplomacy, like various kinds of actually health sectors and nutrition perspectives. So kind of interesting result of the book, where we were seeing that our ideas were 100% going to the right direction, and the research confirmed actually this part. In my opinion, Ines, I think we should take the book afterwards to one step further. I think we will see that this was just the beginning of the soft diplomacy approach that we are seeing on a literature and a research basis. I think we are going to think on bringing this on one step further and going even on a broader scale with the results of this research.
This is exactly that, so you will invited as well to come to our launch that soon will be announced after this hot summer. So soon I'm going to launch the book, and it's going to be, of course, available not only physically but as well in e-book, because nowadays there's no other chances than to read e-books in our planes, in our trips across the world. So thank you so much for actually watching and listening to us, the authors of Soft Diplomacy, Modeling Global Interactions, Thomas Sladko, Ines Pires. We are ready for the next stage and actually to be in contact with you. Would like as well to invite you to join our network, our Global Elite Innovation in Diplomacy Network from all over the world. We have members, we have practitioners, we have people that contact us to be involved in some forms. Please come and join us. We are open if you are from the corporate world, from a diplomatic course, if you are alumni from a specific university. Just join us because all contributions are seen as essential for the evolution and progress of our research. Thank you for watching, and we see each other very soon.
Bye.